Ryan, welcome to MCON Game Day. Thanks for stopping through. I know you're busy just about everywhere on the floor here, and watching this thing grow in the last couple of years. Got to be pretty cool. We're going to talk about a lot of things: your background, your passions, your why. You got a great story. But first, we start with a little bit of a different
story. So, with these type of things, everyone has their own personal story, and you have a reason why you're here working with Waco and building such a great event. And we love to think about the movie of your life. And this is kind of the fun part. This is where you're going to be put on the spot a little bit. If we were watching the movie of your life, what would be the theme? Would it be an action, a comedy, a dramedy, a love story? Like, what would it be? Horror movie. Would it be slasher? Who knows? Who knows your past? Or something in the closet there. We don't know. You don't have to tell us now. You don't have to tell us now.
No.
And who would play you? What famous actor would play you in this movie?
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Questions.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think if the movie, the theme of my life would probably be mostly a dramedy. I've had it'd be like a wandering travel tale that has like a lot of highs and a lot of lows and all of these like kind of weird adjacent asides that have you kind of navigate through. Like when I look at the thematic like moment of my life, I think people go like, oh, here's this like straight line of you were here and then you did this and then you did this. They kind of like the resume build up or whatever. In reality, it's this like aggregated data set of like a ton of these points all over the board, and someone drew a line of best fit, and that's called like my LinkedIn or something. And so what I think's been fun about that specifically is that in the loss of control of the outcome a little bit, like I've been able to lean it more into the serendipity components of it. And so who would play me? I would say Ryan Reynolds, but that's probably not. I think he's just like, he can tap into that drama, he can tap into that kind of seriousness, but he can also play with the comedy piece too. So
he's the best at that. He can go both ways.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And he can sell a lot of things. What does he have? A gin company? Has a phone company?
Yeah, he's got some media companies out there as well.
Hey, didn't he have like, it's like a whole product empire? Well, maybe that's a good segue, because you also do a lot of things with a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of I want to go deeper into your path, because it's really interesting from the military to the variety of different experiments you've run and companies you've built and helped build in the private sector. So give us kind of the cliff notes of the story of Ryan.
Yeah, so it actually starts in a really interesting way, and it probably like the way my life started probably drove like the reason I'm here today, which is my parents were both enlisted in the Air Force, and they got out. They did not have a plan, and so they were stocking shelves and bagging groceries, and we were not doing well economically as a family. We were not. Financial literacy was not something that was baked into our culture, and a unique opportunity popped up. So the U.S. government sold the AWACS aircraft to the Saudi government, and they needed some personnel to help train and rewrite the manuals. And so here's, we have kind of like unclear outcomes of where we're going to go as a family, and all of a sudden there's this opportunity in 1989 to move to Riyadh and kind of get back on our feet. And so we took that opportunity, and we spent the first 9 years of my life kind of traveling all over the world, living in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And so from there, I moved to small town Ohio, and there what was interesting was the world was very big to me prior to being there, and then when I moved to small town rural Ohio, like the world closed down a little bit, and so I think it drove this desire to explore and to see more. I'm not unique in the way I read like On the Road by Jack Kerouac. I read like Christopher McCandless' story about him riding around. I was like, I identify with this somehow. I don't know what that is. And then 9/11 happened, and I was must have been like 11 or 12 years old at the time, and for me personally, the setting in Riyadh at the time was not what it is today, and the relationship with the West was a bit different, and so I experienced some similar traits from that. I felt like it had followed me a little bit, and so there's something in me that wanted to do something about that and join the military. But being from first generation college kid, now you have to figure out how do you go to college and what do you do and how do you pay for it. And so I watched the movie Annapolis with James Franco. And I saw Black Hawk Down, and that was like my military exposure. That's what I thought like was going on, and so I thought I was going to be James Franco. I was like, I want to be him, like this flawed, like character who's trying to figure out his life. And so my dad goes, "Why don't you go to the Air Force Academy?" And I said, "What's that?" And so that kind of started the ball. Went to the Air Force Academy, and I spent 10 years in the Special Operations community. So if you don't know, I'm not sure what your familiarity with the special warfare, special tactics community is. It's this amazing, really unique organization that what the Green Berets do for the Army or the SEALs do for the Navy, the Air Force has a very similar type force that does that for the Air Force, SOCOM, and JSOC at large. Man, for me, that was a massively formative period of my life. And the reason is I got to be around a group of men who were dedicated to my growth and development and were willing to push me, challenge me, and not let me kind of cannibalize myself. And so the support system that they provided me and the lessons learned was immaculate. So I could have been more appreciative. At around 9.5 years of service, I looked at my daughter and my newborn son, and at that point I realized I had really not interacted with them much, and so I started thinking about what's next. I found out about MBA programs from my friend Jack Ambridge, and he's like, I got into Harvard, and I was like, they'll let us in, they'll let us do that. And so I did what I think every veteran goes through, is I shotgunned at 12 applications, MBA programs, thinking I'm getting into none of them. Harvard's mistake, my benefit, I took the piece of paper, ran with it, and got my MBA at Harvard Business School, which was another very eye-opening experience to a world that I was not really familiar with.
And how did that lead you to here, your role, what you're doing today at MCON?
So what's really funny is you spend your first 10 years trying to figure out how to be really good at your military job, and then I felt like I spent the last 4 years trying to figure out what I want to be post that. And so I was not sure how I wanted to interact with the veteran space, to be honest. Once I got out, I was at arm's length for a lot of time. But there's this organization in Aspen called Huts for Vets, which is a small nonprofit that does wilderness therapy retreats for veterans. I met the founder when I was a fellow at the Aspen Institute, and he said, you should come on a trip and you should help moderate. And so I did that, and then I became the chairman of the board. And so when I did that, that was my foray into the military community, which led to Military Times doing an amazing award for the nonprofit, which connected me to Waco, which connected me to MCON, and then ultimately was the seed corn for building Impact Group.
So tell us a little bit about that, because first off, I love the serendipity. I love the threads come together. It's awesome. You can't predict how it's going to. That's why people say planning your career is kind of a waste of time. It's just have the right mindset to know kind of what to do when the right things kind of come together. What are you guys doing with Impact Group?
Yeah.
And actually give us also why you were willing to make this I don't know if it's the only bet you're making right now, but the primary bet here.
Yeah. So with Impact Group, I think I was unburdened by my ignorance of the business world and the nonprofit world, how everything worked. Somehow that was a really strength for me. And so when I started thinking about what kind of purposeful life I wanted to lead after the military, I started to look at nonprofits, but then I started to feel that most people didn't understand that they were businesses with a different tax filing, and the way that people were doing partnerships was the whole landscape seemed fragmented, and it seemed like organizations could do good while doing well, and I didn't know what that looked like. I had this opportunity to spend time with Davis Smith, who the founder of Cotopaxi, and so that was my really big foray into how can a private sector brand be built around purpose, and so that instilled in me this desire to help businesses not create impact strategies, but to create business strategies that have impact. Philosophically, I just fundamentally believe that partnerships help any entity grow, especially being an Air Force soft guy. My whole job was partnerships in some way, shape, or form. And so we wanted to create asymmetric advantage for organizations that were trying to grow, influence their community, and ultimately serve, build the best business that they could. And we thought that by helping them develop business strategies that had impact, they would be able to lean into their impact strategies as they were trying to grow versus figuring out how to grow and then figuring out how to give impact. At the end of the day, nonprofits are amazing community builders. They have amazing outreach. They're really good channel strategists. They sell something that doesn't kind of exist in a way. And so they cultivate this intangible equity, or this purpose equity, I like to call it. And so, private companies sometimes aren't really good at that, especially on the lower middle market side. And so I thought there was a symbiotic relationship that these organizations could go through. So it's not a giving strategy, it's a channel strategy, it's a customer acquisition strategy, it's a cost effectiveness strategy and stuff like that. So employee engagement can start with purpose. Who's good at driving purpose? Nonprofits. So why wouldn't we learn from each other? So that's Impact Group in a nutshell.
It's neat because very rarely do you hear the private sector's like, where we should learn is nonprofits. It's usually like, these things need governance, they need rigor, they need profit.
They do. They definitely do. Yeah.
And that is true to some extent, but there are that mission folks, how you tell that story, how you sell stories so that you grow brand stickiness beyond this is the commodity pack of gum that I happen to find at the front of the store in an increasingly competitive environment. That's really important. So Ryan, I know we got to let you go and get on with your day here. There's a whole pumpkin patch over there. I don't know what's going to happen. But a couple quick rapid fire ones for you. First off, while in Vegas, best meal in Vegas. What's top of the list for you?
So we just had a meal at Fleming's the other night that was pretty phenomenal. So
Fleming's, okay, all right. So Fleming's. 2, what to watch for? I think it's a little Sports Center type show here. What to watch for? What are you most excited about at MCON in the next 2 days?
What I'm really excited about is so harking back a little bit, is the Huts for Vets thing. I got to, on the board, I got to interact with Vietnam veterans for the first time in a more deeply intimate way. And the amount of gratitude that we owe that community for how they fostered a veteran community after their experience is something that I can't discount. What's really cool about MCON is it is not a GWAT era veteran specific thing. You see veterans from all walks and shapes of life. And I think that contextual collaboration of this is a shared experience, we're not alone, and you can see the longevity not outside of the GS military civilian, it's not that, it's people who genuinely cared about their time and get to interact, and so you get to see young people interacting with old veterans, you can see old veterans learning about new stuff. I think that's one of the magical pieces about MCON.
Amazing. Walk the floor, have some conversations.
That's right.
And finally, see this here little challenge flag. You might be like, what the hell is that thing doing here? Game day, open setup here. People walking by may hear something you say. They may say, I don't know if I agree with that. We want them to pick up this here challenge flag and give it a hurl. Let them challenge you to your face. So, if someone was going to challenge you on something that you believe, Ryan, what's a controversial belief that you hold that might earn you a challenge flag?
All right, I'll go for real. I think that we tell veterans that they can do anything because of their leadership skills. And I think that to an extent that is true, that veterans go through an amazing growth pattern in training and collaboration, learn how to work on teams. However, I think sometimes what we do is we say veterans shouldn't be struggling, they should be being successful. And my experience has shown me that struggle and success are so much closer than I ever thought they could be. Yes. And so I think what I would say as a controversial opinion is that we should actually lean into telling veterans how hard it is to pivot your life. And then we can double down on the things that we already think they're good at, resilience, navigating ambiguity, etc. Instead of saying, you are struggling, we should remove this from you so that you can be successful. I think, hey, struggle and success are actually cohabitants, and you should lean into struggle because you're already capable of doing that.
That's a great take, and I think that's a theme we've heard a few times, not articulated that way. That's a perfect way to say it, because the struggle is what you need to actually grow and figure it out, and not just say they're broken and struggling all the time. You have to do both at the same time.
That's right.
That's amazing. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate you for being here.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.